This is the city, Megatonia, a cesspit of crime, and there's one force that can clean up the streets. The Judge Squad.
This is the Magisterium to all judges out there.
Reread you. What's the situation?
Quadrant 7 is full of bad guys.
In other words, it's in need of some serious judgment.
You got it. I'm sending Justice Olin to bring the gavel down. You will make sure that any litigations are suspended.
We'll what?
Do what you do best.
Oh.
I wouldn't waste any time. Megatonia is in trouble, and you're its first line of defense in this trial.
Got it. Rachel out.
So, I know I'm new to this whole judge job, but what do we do exactly? Like, the whole conversation was just a little hard to understand.
Just remember your training. If you see anyone you think looks untrustworthy, you lay down some sweet, sweet judgment on them.
Okay, but what does that mean?
It means we label them as possible threats to public safety. We act as judge, jury, and incarcerator.
Olin, we were told you'd be coming. I was just going over the case with Violet, our newest justice on the force.
Glad to meet you, but I don't know if I'll be very good at this whole judging thing.
Listen, recruit, just by looking at you, I find in contempt of the laws and regulations our squad stands for.
You do?
She's new. She'll learn.
Perhaps. I hereby sentence you to half an hour of Paws and Tails while I review this case.
That doesn't sound too dreadful. Let me start it up.
Hey, Violet, what's going on?
Oh, hey, Mr. Hugh. What are you doing here?
Oh, Lionel asked me to watch his house as he went on a trip to see relatives. How about yourself?
Just looking at Mr. Jacobs' collection of movies. There are some really old ones. I mean, some of them look good, but some of these other ones look really goofy.
He does have some classics from a simpler time, but don't let those covers fool you. Just because a movie looks a bit cheesy on the box doesn't mean it's not good.
If you say so.
So, are you the only one here?
Nah, Rachel and Olin are talking about some sort of Judge Joey show or something. I came over here to listen to the radio instead of all the court cases that Olin's been watching.
Sounds interesting.
Trust me, it's not.
That's not how being a judge works, Olin.
I'm telling you it is. You just need to watch a few episodes. Judge Joey just looks at a person on trial and right away he can tell if they're guilty or not. It's a skill I'm developing myself.
And how are you doing that?
Oh, hey, Mr. Hugh.
Sounds like you and Rachel are having quite the discussion.
He's just talking about a show he's been watching with his mom.
It's a courtroom show where a judge lays down the law and sends criminals to jail.
I see. I think I've heard of that one.
It's pretty popular. Anyway, I was talking about how I want to be like Joey and be able to tell if people deserve to be punished or not.
I've been telling him that's not how being a judge works.
And I've been telling her that she needs to watch the show and see it in action.
Well, I couldn't care less one way or the other. That sounds like a really boring skill to have. I'd much rather be able to draw well or be good at driving race cars or something.
You just need to open your mind to the possibilities.
I'd much rather open my mind to the pond.
That sounds like a lot more fun.
I'll start it up.
Is there something wrong, Mr. Hugh?
I was just thinking about what Olin was talking about earlier.
Oh no. Don't tell me you want to keep talking about Judge Joey. I think I've heard enough to last me a lifetime.
It's a good show!
That's not quite what I meant. The whole idea of being able to tell if someone deserves to be punished for something they did is something the Bible talks about a lot.
It is? What does it say?
Well, it's a little complicated. Passing judgments on others is a serious thing, and according to Jesus in Matthew 7, it's not something that we should do without first taking a look at ourselves.
Ourselves?
Wait, hold on. I think I remember that part of the Bible. Isn't that where Jesus tells us not to judge people at all?
It's a part of what he says, but there's more to it. He says the reason we shouldn't judge people is because when we do, we have to live up to those standards.
That's kind of confusing.
Yeah, not sure what any of that means.
Well, I could try to explain, or I could see if Lionel has a script about this somewhere. Let's see. Judgment, judging. This could take a while.
Don't feel too bad. It usually takes Mr. Jacobs a long time to find his scripts too.
What do you guys want to do while we wait?
Listen to the radio?
Right, of course.
And now, From the garage of Lionel Jacobs comes the quick drama, The Two Drivers, an adapted biblical teaching about hypocrisy. Once upon a time in the fair town of Tinkerton, there was a delivery truck driver.
Hello, I take products from the local factories to nearby towns so that people can sell them in their stores.
She would drive her truck for hours every day, being responsible and getting the products delivered on time and in good condition.
When you ship with me, it's a guarantee.
Everything was going well until one day.
Hey, get out of the way, you big gas guzzler. I got places to be.
Hey, buddy, this is a 40-mile-per-hour zone. You shouldn't be speeding.
Yeah? Well, why didn't you stop me?
And with that, the other driver cut her off and sped off into the distance.
What a crazy driver. I'd better catch up with him so I can get his license plate number to report him to the authorities.
And so, the truck driver slammed on the gas and roared across the countryside. Of course, as she was driving a large truck, she couldn't quite make the tight turns that the smaller car ahead of her could, so there might have been a few picket fences, traffic signs, and mailboxes that just happened to get in her way.
Whoa, watch out!
Don't think you're going to get away from me. You're going down.
After this crazy chase, the truck driver took the other driver to court. The judge then handed down her verdict.
It is my opinion and that of the jury that according to the testimony of our honorable truck driver, you are guilty of speeding and must pay the fine of $200.
Ha! In your face! Yes!
As for you, truck driver,
I know, I did good. Just making the streets a safer place, Your Honor.
I don't know about that. According to eyewitnesses and damage reports and the state of your delivery truck, it would seem that you two were speeding, and I dare say, being much more dangerous than this driver going on a joyride.
She was a little unhinged, Your Honor.
When I need commentary, I'll ask for it, sir.
Sorry, ma'am.
And so the truck driver will be fined $2,000. What? It is the law, and I am being very generous. You are dismissed. The court clerks will serve you your papers.
The moral is that when we see someone doing the wrong thing, it's very easy to want to point it out and see them get punished for it. But God tells us to be very careful when we do this, because chances are we've been doing the wrong thing too. And if they get punished, then you can be sure so will we.
Mr. Hugh, can I ask you something?
Sure, Violet. What's up?
It's the drama we read earlier. You know, the truck driver one.
Oh, yeah. What about it?
Well, I guess I don't understand the lesson. We're not supposed to judge people because then we'll get judged. But I thought God forgives us when we do things that are wrong.
He does. 1 John 1:9 says that if we admit to God we're in the wrong, then He will forgive us. But you need to understand that God doesn't want to punish anyone. Verses like 2 Peter 3:9 and Acts 26:18 show that God wants to forgive and not let anyone pay for their sins. When we treat people badly for doing the wrong thing, we are not being like God, and that's where the problem is.
So what you're saying is it's not wrong to tell people what they are doing is wrong, as long as we are doing it because we love them and want to be forgiven?
Exactly, Rachel. The Bible tells us of many prophets and messengers God sent to His people to warn them that what they were doing was wrong. But it was never to make the messengers look good.
That makes a lot more sense.
So, just wondering, Mr. Hugh, is there any situation that we need to judge people?
Interesting question, Olin. And I can think of one instance where the Bible tells us that we need to be very careful about trusting people. It's the people we let teach us.
So I'm guessing it's a big deal then.
Oh, yes. All throughout the Bible, we see people who teach others things that weren't true. And usually this led to many people suffering for it. The thing is, these teachers seem to be pretty good people, but behind the scenes, they were only looking out for themselves.
Wow.
So if we're supposed to be careful not to trust those kinds of people, how are we supposed to know?
Again, in Matthew 7, Jesus tells us. He tells us that you will know people are serving God by the way they live. God goes on to explain in Galatians 5 that people who follow Him are joyful and loving. They don't get into arguments all the time and are patient with others, showing kindness and doing good to everyone. They don't break promises and aren't mean or lose their temper.
That's quite the list. Is that all it has to say?
Oh, I could go on, Rachel, But if you really want to know more, I'd suggest reading 1 Corinthians 13. There's another list there that explains a little more.
Cool. I'll go look that up.
What's that?
Oh, that's my alarm. Judge Joey is dropping a new video in like 5 minutes. I gotta go tell Mom.
Sorry I asked.
Have fun, Olin.
We'd better get going too. Thanks for talking with us, Mr. Hugh. You're pretty smart, even if you aren't Mr. Jacobs.
Thanks, Rachel, I think.
Have a good day.
Bye. Huh. Now then, how does Lionel turn this radio thing off? This one? Nope, it's this one.